Yo, how's it going? And today, I'm going to be going over the best mantras in every attunement. And for this list, I'm going to be looking at the mantra slots, aka combat, mobility, etc. What this basically means is I can use 2 combat mantras and put mobility and support in there. And for our first attunement, it's Flame, which has the combat mantras Fireblade and Fireforge. Fireblade is just really good, especially since it insta-guard breaks at level 5. And for Fireforge, before the recent Spark, I wouldn't have added this to the list at all. But now, it is simply one of the highest damaging flame mantras for really no reason, as it's a direct upgrade Spark. Now for mobility, it's Flame Leap. Overall, this move is just really good mobility and really good for combat. Which brings us to support, which is, of course, Flame Wisp. Graceful Flame was close on this, but really Flame Wisp is just better. It's better healing. Next attunement is Frost Draw. And while the first one might be obvious, the second one I'll have to explain a little more. Them being Ice Daggers and Ice Eruption. Ice Daggers is just really good auto tracking, does really well with Wayward, and it's a free crystal explosion if you have that. Now Ice Eruption might not be the most obvious, but I do think it's pretty good. A true stun, no vent, and low investment cost of it make it exceptional, which is why you see low ice builds run it so much. Next up, we have probably the best mobility mantra in the game, Ice Skate. Despite nerfs, this is still the best mobility in my opinion, so need I say more? And then finally, we have Frost Wisp. It's just good for placing ice, and for some reason, lasts forever. Next up is Thunder, and I do have to preface this by saying this is my list, not yours. Which is why we have Rising Thunder, and to everyone's surprise, Lightning Impact. Now, Rising Thunder is still a really good mantra. Its combo potential is crazy, and it's just overall really cool. But then we have Lightning Impact, which is weird, but I'll explain. It acts like an uppercut and does heavy posture damage. When you land it, you're basically both sent into the air. And plus, if the community makes a cry about it, it will probably get buffed. But a side thing to note, do not get Rain of Static with this mantra. It's pretty bad. For support, we have Thunder Wisp, which is just good if you manage to flourish your opponent. Otherwise, it's okay. But for mobility, we have Lightning Cloak, which, need I say more, it's obviously the best, and is strangely a mobility slot. Next off, we have Rising Wind and Astral Wind. Now, despite Rising Wind getting nerfed, it's still one of the coolest mantras, despite being pretty hard to land. But when it lands, ooh. And then we have Astral Wind. While I'm not the biggest fan of Astral Wind, I know some people have crazy hard time parrying it, which honestly I don't understand, but if it catches people off guard, it's gonna be good. Then we have Wind Passage, which is overall really good, especially because it teleports you instead of moving you. And then because Gale has no other support mantra, is Gale Wisp. Yeah, this is just a sad pick. But moving on, we got Shadow, which has 2 MVPs, Shadowgun and Rising Shadow. Shadowgun has been a king for 2 years, and is still one of the best Shadow mantras. Then next off, we have Rising Shadow, which can lead to some crazy combos, which really shouldn't be in the game. Then we have Shade Wisp, which is just really good support. Passive tempo plus hiding your M1 sometimes, it's just funny. Then we have Shadow Assault, which I didn't mention this for Wind Passage, but both of these mantras do really high damage. This is best seen on high mantra pen builds. Which, hey, shameless plug, go watch those I guess. But this mantra, of course doing high damage, has a direct upgrade Spark, which is just really good. Next off, we got Iron Sing, which is pretty obvious, Caltrops and Metal Eruption. Caltrops has always been really good, but Metal Eruption just does really high posture damage. And if you miss a parry, you're taking quite a bit. Then we have Metal Ball, which is obviously one of the best mobility mantras. Being able to control where you move is just really good, especially with the knockdown and combat potential. Then we have Metal Wisp, which on the surface is just free passive armor. However, with Iron Sting's talents, it can be really good for synergies. And finally, we have No Attunement. Yes, this counts. Which of course, the combat is 2 strength mantras, Strong Left and Sky Shatter Kick. Strong Left has always been good, and it just scales ridiculously high. And then Sky Shatter Kick, despite nerfs, is still really high damage when you land it. Then for support, we have Reinforce. Now it's not as good as the old days, but it's still good when you have a teammate or just need a mantra to fill up your support slot. and it's more viable to get than Brace. And finally, to wrap this up, we have Shoulder Bash. Does good damage, you're able to turn during it, you can modify it to make it longer. What more could you want? Overall, this mantra is just really good for combat mobility. And that's going to be a wrap to all these mantras. Do you have any suggestions? Leave them down in the comments. But that's going to be all from this. Like and sub. See ya.